On May 7, I was on a bus with a team of nurses, medical doctors, cooks, rafters, and mountaineers headed towards one of the villages devastated by the April 25th earthquake to provide relief effort. On my 8-hour bumpy bus ride, I saw houses after houses fallen, some completely damaged, some partially damaged, and then others with cracks on their walls and ceilings. The April 25th earthquake had swept through not just one village, but every single village on the route. It had shattered not just their homes, but their children's schools and playgrounds as well. Our work started the night we reached our destination village when a young boy came with a laceration on his head. The effort continued for the next few days. We saw the extensiveness of the damage when we hiked from village to village to provide medical aid on our third day. It was much worse than what I had seen through my bus window. The earthquake in Nepal had robbed the people of everything: their homes, the family, the belongings, crops, and possessions they had worked their entire life putting together. It had robbed them of their hope, their joy, and certainty. The situation was not any different in Kathmandu, the capital city of Nepal, either. I could see fear, hopelessness, despair, uncertainty on people's faces as they dreaded for another earthquake. But I also saw resiliency, courage, generosity, and selfless acts in abundance. Permila, one of the survivors, she lost her mother and 2-year-old sibling in the first earthquake. Despite her immense loss and her new role as a mother and a breadwinner for her younger siblings, she had decided to look past her grief and be courageous. She said to me during one of our conversations, "I cannot bring back what my family lost, but I can make sure that I am strong for my family. I can make sure that I provide good education to my siblings. And I am going to do everything I can so that they will have a bright future." Saraswati, a beautiful young girl with a permanent smile on her face, she came to our campsite the night we reached her village. She would hold our hands and follow us everywhere. Just before our van left the village, I came to know that she also lost her mother in the earthquake. Seeing such a beautiful, smiling, and friendly face, I had never imagined, that she had also lost her mother in the earthquake. Now that I look back, I think she was a strong, resilient little girl who knew how to smile even amidst her adversity. Nepal is a small country as big as Iowa, small but very diverse. Many ethnic groups, languages, religions, conflicting belief systems, and geographical terrain, from the highest mountain to one of the lowest points on the earth. Then there is a caste system, a societal hierarchical stratification that divides society into different groups. A person from a higher caste will not drink a water touched by the person from a lower caste. This Didi, we call older sister Didi in Nepali, I noticed that she was sitting alone away from the rest of the group who were talking to each other. After talking to her, I came to know that she was from a lower caste, as labeled by the society. What an injustice, to be reminded of your status in the society during such crisis. She lost her house. She also lost her belongings, and she was suffering as equally as any other people in Nepal. It was disheartening to see sights like this one. However, it was refreshing to see that many people had decided to look past their differences and come together to help and be a support system for each other. In Kathmandu, people were living next to each other in their tents, sharing their foods, their stories and suffering. Neighbors who would barely talk to each other now shared the same ground at night. The earthquake had not discriminated whether you were rich or poor, whether you were educated or illiterate, or whether you were from the mountains or from the plains. Everybody had been dealt with the same fate. So everybody had been dealt with the same fate by the earthquake. It had, in a sense, pushed people to forget about their differences and focus on their common denominator as a human being and Nepali first. It had brought solidarity among people all across Nepal. Collaterally, it also helped youth to realize their potential as the pillars of the nation. It opened their eyes towards the capacity as the risk takers, the problem solvers, and the change agents who could bring change to their country. This wonderful 4 young people were volunteering at one of the government hospitals in Kathmandu, in Nepal, at their own expense. Every time I would visit the hospital with Nepalese American Nurses Association team, I would see them visiting patients from bed to bed, despite knowing the fact that they could be the victim of another earthquake should the hospital building fall when they were there volunteering. Many of these patients were from outside the capital city with no family members visiting them. These young people would bring them food and supplies and would spend time with them, and as they would call these patients as alone patients. I saw similar random acts of kindness everywhere, not just in Nepali people, but in people all across the world. Everyone was trying to do everything they could to reach out to people who were affected by the earthquake in Nepal. When I came back to the United States, I was approached by one of the local coordinators if I could provide school supplies to one of the first villages I had volunteered at. I had 2 days to come up with $2,000. In my desperation, I reached out to my friends and my family, despite having the knowledge that they had contributed quite a bit for the earthquake through various organizations. I was amazed and awed by their generosity. I was able to come up with more than $3,000 in 2 days and send money back to Nepal and provide school bags and stationeries to the children. My friends and I have decided to continue this effort and name this initiative as Nurturing Hopes. We have been able to provide school bags, stationeries, school uniforms, blackboards, and play items to children in different schools. I always wanted to volunteer and help children in some way, but I never found the right time to do it. Perhaps I was timid, or maybe I questioned my ability to contribute during crisis. But this time, when it hit closer to home, my urge to go triumphed over my fears, my questions, my doubts, and other arbitrary barriers. I was supposed to start my orientation as a nurse at Methodist Hospital. I was in a big dilemma, whether to go or to stay back and continue my orientation. Thankfully, my manager allowed me to delay my orientation. Not only that, she also provided me with medical supplies to take with me to Nepal. And all this was possible because as a young girl from a very remote And because as a young girl from a very remote and isolated region in Nepal, who neither spoke Nepali nor English, I was given the gift of education and learning. I was provided numerous opportunities by many kind-hearted souls along these years, which has allowed me to dream big and work hard. It has provided me with a foundation to be as capable as any man and as any caste in my country. And my friends and I hope that we can provide the same nurturing and learning environment to the children and little girls like Saraswati, so that someday they can also break class ceilings. Thank you.